Hey guys, I just wanted to hop in here and make a quick little video about our fantasy league as the games do start tonight, and tell you guys what my draft takeaways are and other things along those lines. First, let's get into our players who fell in the draft. The first player that comes to mind that is a blaring um, mark on this draft page is Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty went all the way at the 2-9 spot, and he's usually around the 10 through 14 on the 1-2 turn. So fair to say Ashton Genty fell quite a bit. Another player that fell quite a few spots, even though he still ends up in the first round, is one of the best receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson. He went in the 10 spot, going as the 5th wide receiver off the board, which is pretty insane. He's battling some injuries, so I can see why he would fall, especially having a pretty much rookie QB at the helm. But Justin Jefferson is a yearly great player, and I'm surprised he fell all the way to 10. Here's a player that probably rightly fell in the draft, and that is player on Hayden's team, Joe Mixon. He was going probably another round or two earlier, but the funny thing about this, and why I like to draft later in draft season, is that we've actually found more information about Joe Mixon, and that is his injury status. I think in most leagues he's going into the double-digit rounds now, so this ended up turning into a kind of crappy pick. Hopefully for Hayden's sake, later down the stretch in the season, he will be a weekly starter. But right now, even though he did technically fall in my eyes, a couple weeks later, he is a candidate for someone who has regressed in his overall draft ADP. On the flip side, let's go to some players that were drafted well ahead of ADP. With that, we'll kick off with Carter's 10th round grab, Keenan Allen. I think this is actually a super sick pick, someone that I was eyeing up in the later rounds, but Carter is at the 12-13 turn. He's the last pick, so he has to look way ahead. Would Keenan Allen have gotten back to him in the 11th round, 24 picks later or whatever? I don't know. I would have thought so, but I think it's a smart pick by Carter. Keenan Allen's coming back to an offense that he'd been in years prior, and even last year he surprised me on the Chicago Bears with a very good stat line of, well, you can see for yourself here. Basically, he still had a crap ton of targets, as you can see, week 1, 11, 10, 7, 8, 15, which is just incredibly hard to believe. So even though he is getting older, he's back on a familiar offense with an even better quarterback. I think it makes sense that he would go in this round. All right, for our next player that's drafted way above ADP is Hayden's own Cole Kmet. In Sleeper, his average draft position is 314, which is well off the board. A player that in most leagues isn't even drafted. I think he even took Cole Kmet over his teammate who's a rookie, Colston Loveland. Yes, I am seeing that correctly. While we don't know who's going to get the favorable amount of snaps, I think it's likely that Cole Kmet has a very small piece of the pie for the passing offense and is more maybe a run blocking type at this point in his career. So I think, no disrespect to Hayden, but this pick was probably a shock to most people in the league, and probably a pick that I think Hayden might want back. Kyler Murray. He was our 8th quarterback taken off the board in an ADP. He usually goes around 10 spot. I don't think it's a bad pick. It is a pick that worries me personally because I know he could be very hot and cold. but Pierce took Kyler above names like Bo Nix, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, all players that I think have a higher floor and a higher ceiling than Kyler Murray. So it did surprise me to see a player like Kyler, someone who's very hot cold, go in a round where you are still getting people like Travis Kelce, George Pickens, still some really valuable receiving options. Most of the running backs fizzled out by this point, but there were a lot of good receiving options still on the board. Let's talk about the team that I think has the best running back room, and that is not to toot my own horn, but I went 3 straight running backs to start. All running backs that I believe are RB1s, which means they'll finish in the top 12. I'm very confident that 2 out of 3 will, and I still have decent confidence that 3 out of 3 will. When I look around at the other rosters, I see teams like Carson, who has Saquon Barkley, and then Kyron in the 3rd, which I really like, and a James Warren in the 9th that just got paid to be the starting running back for Pittsburgh. So I really like that. And I also think Chris did a good job drafting at the 8th spot, grabbing a rookie with untapped potential, followed up by Chuba Hubbard, who I think is a very safe floor play and someone that I would want on my team, and a bit of a dynamite stick in DeAndre Swift. Is the Bears offense going to be good this year? Is there too many weapons? Is he going to get the touchdowns, the goal line carries? I'm not sure, but those are the teams that I look at, and I see running backs that I really like. Let us now talk about the receivers. The team that jumps out at me is Carter's team. I think he has 2 amazing potential number 1 overall finishers in Malik Neighbors and Nico Collins. I think that is phenomenal, and he took DK Metcalf in the 4th round as well. Someone who I could see finishing as a top 12 PPR receiver. Another team, obviously, when you have Jamar Chase on your team, you're going to be talked about as one of the best wide receiving cores. Going Jamar Chase and then Lab McConkey, and then 3 really solid mid-round receivers in Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers, and Calvin Ridley. That's kind of a mixed bag, but I do like one of those receivers to emerge as a really good flex for Matthew. And other teams that I like would include Chris's team again, who he snagged Amon-Ra and Drake London on his 1st and 2nd pick. So obviously, if you're drafting receivers earlier, you're probably going to have a better wide receiver room. But I like that he went Amon-Ra, Drake London, and then followed it up by Diggs, who I think can prove to be a very good flex receiver if he's healthy. And if Diggs doesn't work out, he's always got DeAndre Swift and the potential of someone else emerging on his roster, like Deebo Samuel, who I've become more high on recently. All right, now we're going to talk about the team that I think has the best onesies, which is your tight end and your quarterback. The team that sticks out to me right away is Anna's team. She has Jalen Hurts, who was looks to be 3rd QB off the board, which is spectacular. I think in the mid to late 4th round is right where you would want to be drafting Jalen Hurts. I think it's good she took him before Burrow because Hurts is a running quarterback, so he's going to get a lot more points that way. And obviously there's a lot of good weapons on the Jalen Hurts Eagles offense. Or tight end Travis Kelce is going to be big, I believe, this year because it seemed like the last couple of years, for obvious reasons, Taylor Swift, he was not as locked in to football, so I think there's a little bit of a fire lit under his ass, and they'll be missing Rashee Rice, the first 6 weeks of the season, I guess. So that will um, make sure that he is a bigger target and cog in the offense. And I think the Chiefs are going to be a bit looser this season and less game plan specific, and in turn we'll see more offense. I'm going to dive in now to the team that I think might be the riskiest roster, but I think also has an extreme upside. I'm looking at Sandslam, Ivan's team. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs and Ashton Denty, who seem to be very volatile players that can pop off at any play, have huge weeks, as well as T. Higgins. But I am worried about Ashton Denty coming in as an unproven rookie, and T. Higgins with his health issues. Those are both players that he's counting on for a weekly high volume, high point start, and I don't know that he's going to always get that from T. Higgins or Ashton Denty. Xavier Worthy is another player I don't have extreme confidence in and am worried about. He did carve out a bigger role for himself at the end of last year, and he could be another benefactor to Rashee Rice not being available for the first 6 weeks. So that's kind of up in the air. He could be very good, but it's just not a player that I'm too high on. Tet McMillan and Travis Hunter are coming in next for Ivan. Both rookies, both receivers on not very good offenses, and Tet McMillan is also banged up. I believe it's a calf injury. I'm not sure too much about that. It shouldn't hold him back, but it's a player that I'm wary on because I don't know too much about him. So for me, that adds to the riskiness factor, as well as Travis Hunter, who is a defensive back and a receiver, and we're still waiting to see how many snaps he's going to be getting on offense. He is a player that I think could have extreme upside and could be undervalued in the draft, and is probably a player we'll see going higher next year, but all stuff that we do not know yet, and which there adds to the reason I think this roster is a bit risky. Next, the person who probably solidifies why this is a very risky roster is Ivan's 8th round pick, Quinshon Judkins, who is actually not even signed by the Cleveland Browns yet. He's a rookie, dealing with some off the field issues and some contract issues. He has not practiced once for this team, so even if he does suit up for week 1 somehow, he's still got a lot to learn and has to get into football shape, which can be tough. Ricky Pearsall, who knows how long he will be running as the wide receiver 1 for San Francisco. Could be week 1, could be 2 weeks, could be the whole season. We don't know, because Juwan Jennings and Brandon Ayuk are both on their way back. Colston Loveland, another rookie. I believe Ivan does have the most rookies, which is a good draft strategy if you get lucky. I'm a fan of it personally. I only drafted 1. He's not even a rookie, JJ McCarthy. But here we go, another one. Krosky Merritt, rookie, 7th round pick out of Rutgers. Caleb Williams, someone that I'm not too high on, but can definitely give you some decent points every week. But still, that Bears offense, I'm very scared to have pieces of that. And we're following it up by 2 more players that I'm not sure about. Brandon Ayuk, he's not even going to play most of the season. And Justin Fields is on the Jets and hasn't proven to be the best passer in the league. So I think this roster, while it does have a high upside with players like Gibbs, Genty, Higgins, and Kittle, and a lot of a mixed bag in the middle with these 3 wide receivers, it is a big upside, but a lot of these names are very scary to me, as well as very young and unproven, and that's why I think it's the riskiest roster. Moving on to what I believe to be the steal of the draft, at least in the earlier window of the rounds, has to be Justin Jefferson. He went too late. I even passed on him, but my strategy is running back heavy. But the fact that Kyle was able to get Justin Jefferson in the 10th and then allow that flexibility to wrap around into the second round and still get a high-end running back, is incredible. So if Kyle takes Josh Jacobs here and he comes back around, it's likely that the best receiver on the board at this point is A.J. Brown. So would you rather have Justin Jefferson and Achane, or would you have Jacobs and Brown? I think Jefferson and Achane is the right pick every time. Now for the picks that I don't exactly agree with. No shade on them, but the first I will highlight, we highlighted a lot during our draft in real time, Evan Ingram in the 5th round, at the beginning of the 5th round, is just insane to me. I think the difference between Evan Ingram in the 5th and a player like Tyler Warren in the 9th, or even Tucker Kraft in the 9th, or Travis Kelce in the 6th. I think these are all much better options than Evan Ingram. And also, I believe Evan Ingram is a player that could have easily fallen to the 6th, if not the 7th round. If it wasn't bad enough, Evan followed it up with a pick of Travis Etienne, who also went way above ADP. Travis is more of a 8-9 round pick, but if you have your guys, I totally respect that pick. Evan has won this league twice now. He won last year and then had a share with Matthew for first place the year prior. Another person I highlighted, again, I will say, is Cole Kmet. He just has no business being drafted and is a likely waiver wire candidate after week 1. Now this is an award, I would say, rather than an observation. Congratulations, Carson, for drafting Kyle Pitts. A final observation that I would like to make is that while Anna did take a very good onesie duo in Jalen Hurts and Travis Kelce, I think taking a kicker early, even though I do understand why she did. Of course, Cameron Dicker, pretty funny name. Followed by the Eagles in the 9-10 rounds. I think that is a very early draft selection, and she could have gotten some other players that would be difference makers rather than those two in those earlier rounds. Next season, I'd like to see Anna draft those players a little bit later. I think it kind of evens the playing field. While she did get great tight end and QB1s, she did miss out on some later end draft values. Quickly, I'll go through every team and say something about them, whether it's something I like or I'm interested in seeing in the future. For Guiley, at the number 1 pick, I am very interested to see, does Jamar Chase end up as the wide receiver 1 again? For Evan, I want to know, does he even make the playoffs after winning 2 titles? I think this roster is set up for some hardship. Carson, I think, has a nice balanced room. My only question is, will Tyreek Hill exceed his draft position at the 210? I don't think he will. Ivan, mixed bag, crazy roster. Is he elite or is he 12th place? Anna, I think, it has one of the clearer paths to the playoffs with a great lineup of starters. I am just thrilled to see my running backs play out exactly how I wanted to in the draft, and I'm interested to see, does Jamal Williams have a good season with over 1,000 receiving yards, or does the rookie Tesla cut into his receiving? For Pierce, at the 7th spot in our draft, I'm wondering what his running back room is going to look like. Can Kamara get enough work on a shitty offense at old age, Can Kenneth Walker stay healthy? And can Caleb Johnson emerge as the starting running back for Pittsburgh and overtake Jalen Warren? I don't know. Chris, what I'm most interested in seeing is, does Baker Mayfield uphold his draft cost? He was a pretty expensive quarterback to take, and he threw, I think, 41 touchdowns last season, which is going to be hard to replicate. Tito took CMC, so that's the big question. Does CMC stay healthy? I think he does. I hope he does. I think it's good for fantasy. He's also getting older, so it's going to be a tough one to know. Kyle, I'm wondering, does Rashee Rice end up working out as his 5th round pick? He won't be available till week 7. Will that be too little too late? Will Kyle already be 0-5, 0-6? Who knows? I think Rashee Rice and his ability to be a wide receiver 1 is the one thing that Kyle needs to be keeping his eye on. Aiden, taking Breece Hall in the 3rd is, I don't know if you can call that a bad pick. I just know that Breece is a squeaky wheel in a backfield that is leaning toward Braylon Allen is a 50-50 split, but Breece Hall has 1 year left on his rookie deal, I believe, and then he'll be out of here. So he is playing for a contract. So this Breece Hall pick could turn into a really good pick for getting him late in the 3rd, or he could just be really mid like last season. Looking at Carter's team, I'm praying that Breece Hall is a good player. Otherwise, Braylon Allen's gonna lead Carter to a championship. I do like Carter's Tony Pollard pick. I think he took him way above ADP, but when you're drafting at the 12 spot, that's something that you need to do. And to me, Carter has a lot of squeaky wheel running backs, which is not a good thing to have. So I'm wondering for Carter, which running backs are going to step up and help his team make the playoffs. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I am using YouTube voice. This is meant for you guys, but I made a YouTube channel. I may as well post it on there. I hope you guys don't take anything too seriously. I know I did take a couple digs, but what do I know? I'm just analyzing it. From my perspective, it could be completely way off the mark, so please don't take any offense to anything I said. I think everybody had a pretty solid draft, minus Evan, but what are you going to do about that? He's won the league twice. I mean, it's anyone's guess. He could find what he needs on the waiver wire any given week and turn into the number 1 player in the league. Who knows? Anyways, I just wanted to make this video for you guys so you guys can get as excited as I am for the season. I'm super pumped to kick it off tonight. I'll be watching the game with my brother, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think I am going to keep posting videos this season. I'll drop them to you guys if you want them. Otherwise, I'll just post them on my YouTube channel, Amateur Fantasy. Anyways, I don't know if that was a top 10 countdown necessarily, but I did make a lot of big points that I wanted to share and analyze about what I think happened in the draft specifically. Now, I know a lot of teams have actually dropped and claimed some new players on the waivers, including myself, and that's going to be a revolving door for everybody the whole season, so make sure you're getting your waivers in and also trading your players.